How long have you lived in the area?
We have lived in Coleman Highlands since 1998. My wife and I got married in 98 and moved into a house that was on 35th Street and Southwest Traffic Way. And in 2001, we moved into the house we're in now, which is on Carnes Boulevard. So we've lived in the house we're in now since 2001.
So what generally has attracted you to the area?
My office is here at 20th Street,
Yeah.
and our house is on 31st Street. It's less than 2 miles away, and so I go home for lunch a lot, and I can walk home, I can ride my bike, so I really like being close to work. I don't like commuting. It's also close to our church, which is close to the plaza. It's close to my kids' school, which is on Main Street. So I really like being centrally located in Kansas City.
Yeah. So what are your views on the neighborhood? Like, is it mostly one race, one income?
It's mixed.
Mixed?
Coleman Highlands is an old neighborhood. Our house was built in 1909, so it's over 100 years old. There are probably 4/5 of the houses in the neighborhood are that old, and then there's 1/5 that were built right after World War II, so they're still kind of old, like 50 plus years old, but a totally different style. Our house is a shirtwaist, which is 2 stories and with a big front porch, and then there are these ranches that are in the neighborhood too. Prior to, say, 1990, it was a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, and in 1990 and later, more people started moving in because it's so close to Kansas, so close to downtown and the plaza, so there's been some gentrification. So I'd say now it's probably 40% Hispanic, 50% Caucasian, and 10% other.
So obviously you know what gentrification is
Yeah.
already. What signs have you seen in your neighborhood? Has it changed a lot since you moved in there?
There are definitely houses that are kept up and painted and redone, and then there are houses next to it that aren't painted and aren't as in good shape. There's some, I'm on the neighborhood board, which is a volunteer job, and we have a picnic and we organize dumpster day and stuff like that. And the people on the board are predominantly people who have moved into the neighborhood in past years versus people who grew up in the neighborhood. So there's some divide between those people who've been there a long time. And I've been there for close to 20 years, which isn't a long, it seems like a long time, but compared to people in the neighborhood, it's not. So there's some division on the board. It's primarily people who moved in versus the people who've lived there forever. And they might say, gosh, the board doesn't do anything for us. And we'll say, come to the board meeting, we'll do whatever you want. So they're a little bit like that. I wouldn't say hostility or anything like that, but there's some division.
Yeah. So do you have any questions that you'd like to ask?
I don't believe so, but I'm trying to think.
So have you seen like more revitalization in your time living there? Has the board done anything to kind of keep up the neighborhood? And has there been any like backlash for that?
There's a lot of revitalization, and an issue that there's been backlash on just recently has been Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
Coleman Highlands has what's called a single family ordinance. Take, for example, Hyde Park or other old home neighborhoods in Kansas City with these big old homes have been subdivided into apartments. And that's illegal in Kansas City, in Coleman Highlands. The only neighborhood in the state that has that rule. So the idea that it could be short-term rental seems to be against the single family ordinance, but the people who are doing short-term rentals say it has nothing to do with it. I can do whatever I want with my house. So there's been a lot of dispute about whether somebody can run an Airbnb out of their house. And it's not resolved yet. And I think that issue is happening throughout Kansas City. I think it's happening throughout the country where somebody is able to rent their house out almost like a hotel in a residential neighborhood. And do the other neighbors want that kind of traffic? Is it good for the neighborhood? Is it bad for the neighborhood? Is it the person's property right to do it?
Yeah. And so you say that you've kind of moved around Kansas City a little bit, like from before you moved here.
Yeah, I guess so. when we got married, we moved into this neighborhood because we wanted to, my wife worked at the Kansas City Star, and that was close to her office too. I grew up in South Kansas City, like 132nd and Warnell, and I had no idea that Coleman Highlands was there, just west of Penn Valley Community College. But I love it. So no, I mean, we've been there for a long time, and I don't intend to move, but I did live in different parts of Kansas City before I moved there.
How would you compare the other parts of Kansas to here?
I don't like driving to work. I don't like traffic, and I think that it's great where I live. The one thing that well, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the schools aren't as good in Kansas City, and so you might have to make more effort to find a school that's good for your kids. And I think that's a reason a lot of people move further out, and that's fine. But I just love being centrally located, and I love being able to walk to restaurants and walk to concerts and walk to work. So it's been a very nice place to live.
Let's see. So what about the areas around you? Have you seen any change since you've lived here in those areas, like the Plaza, downtown KC, especially like in the Crossroads?
I think this neighborhood has changed a lot for the better. We've been here we've been here almost 10 years in this office, and there's lots of new restaurants and lots of art galleries. There were art galleries before, but now there's lots of them, and so it's pretty cool, this Crossroads neighborhood. Also known as the West Side, so that's kind of the gentrification thing. They're like, what's the Crossroads? It's always the West Side.
Yeah.
But 39th Street near KU Med has changed quite a bit also. There's a Starbucks there now, more chains like Chipotle rather than local places, but there's still lots of local places also. And the hospital, KU Med just built a brand new building, and there's lots of people walking up and down 39th Street. So I really like 39th Street, it's a lot of fun. I don't go to Westport as much as when I was younger. I go there during the week sometimes to go to a restaurant, but I don't really go on the weekends, so I can't say how the bar scene has changed at all. And so pretty much 39th Street, Westport, Plaza, those are the areas I hang out. I don't really go very far south very much.
And so would you say those changes are more positive?
Yeah, I'd say the neighborhood changes have been positive. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say things have gotten worse since I lived there. I think things have gotten better, and I've liked living there and still like living there.
And what about the kind of controversial topic of gentrification, like the property values rising and pushing kind of lower income families out?
Our assessment went up substantially the last time Jackson County redid our taxes. I can't remember the percentage, but it was jaw-dropping. And I could see that being a problem. It wasn't a problem for my family because we could afford it, but I could definitely see somebody who'd lived there for a long time and seen their property values go up that much and their tax go up could be a hardship. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think it's good. I mean, people like their house going up in value, but if you're stuck there, then it might not be a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, so could we get your name?
My name is Blake Ramsey.
All right. And are you the owner or manager of this building?
No, I'm not actually.
Oh, okay.
I just work here.
How long has this business been running?
In this space 2 3/4 years, and otherwise for 8 years as a business.
Okay. And would you say that since you've moved in here, that's the area has been gentrified, and do you need a definition of that?
Let's go with your definition of gentrification.
Okay, so our definition of gentrification is upper to middle income people coming into an urban neighborhood and renovating the area. Would you say you've seen any of that in this area?
Well, in the Crossroads it's a little different because it's been largely abandoned and it's a dead zone for about 25 years. So technically, I guess in a way it is, but in the same breath, no.
Okay. And would you say that the changes to this area have been positive for it?
Oh, dramatically positive.
Yeah.
In every single way.
Okay.
Okay. been in this area almost 2 years.
Okay. And since you've moved in, have you noticed anything about the area changing, like following your model of kind of revitalizing the area?
Yes, the Crossroads district is experiencing a huge growth spurt. There's buildings popping up everywhere, constantly new.
A lot of background. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I can hear it from here, so.
Okay, yeah, this area is really benefiting from a lot of new growth, which is exciting. There's tons of restaurants, so it's a very creative area, so things are really growing in that direction, which is fun. So there's a lot of new energy with entrepreneurial type stuff, and it's great to be part of.
Would you say that there are any negatives about it?
Negatives. Parking, that's a problem. I mean, that's probably the biggest problem for us, especially. Being in this exact location, we don't have a ton of foot traffic down here, which is fine for our business, but for other retailers, I know that some people have tried to move in across the street, and it's just not, we're not there yet to have enough people kind of walking around, and I think that's a challenge in Kansas City in general. But for us, it doesn't matter as much. I'd say parking is probably the biggest problem. And then also we have a bar across the street. And their clientele gets a little dicey at night, so that can be kind of a deterrent too. But other than that.
Do you think with the growth of the community, stuff like that, like foot traffic, parking, will get better or worse with time?
I think it will get better for sure. Certainly it's trending in that direction. There's a huge condo that's just being built like right on the other side of the block. Hundreds of new units are going in there, and I think if they take the time to clean up some, like if they were to like plant some green life on the sidewalks and just make things feel a little bit nicer, I think that will come. If restaurants come, things that are going to draw people regularly, that will really stimulate what's happening down here.
And have you seen any pushback from the people who kind of originally inhabited this area? Like,
that's a really good question. Because, so we moved into, we're doing a really kind of different type of thing in this space. It's personal styling, so it's sort of seen as this luxury type service. It's really, we don't think of it that way, but it's interesting to move that type of business next door to an auto shop and across the street from like a biker bar. So that's really interesting. Our auto shop neighbors are great. I mean, they're great people, but it can be kind of noisy, and it's like, okay, well, how do we do that because we're new? The bar across the street, that's probably one of our bigger challenges, is just constantly finding, bottles, broken glass, just weird stuff in our planters. And that feels a little bit like, getting a little bit of pushback there, in just kind of a subtle way. But otherwise, I don't think we're not that noisy. We're pretty good neighbors. So.
Let me think. Okay, so in general, you feel like the neighborhood with time will get like safer, less rowdy, kind of?
Yeah, I think so, and I think you can see that through the price, like rent prices are going up in the Crossroads in general. I have a lot of artist friends who are, they had their studio spaces at a very affordable rent, and now a lot of those buildings are being sold, and people are not even really doing many renovations, but they're able to lease them out for triple the amount just because the space is becoming more valuable, this location is becoming more valuable. So that's sort of, it's always kind of a give and take. I think that it shows that there's more stimulation here and more energy kind of coming up. I know when we'll have people kind of come down from time to time. We're a much older generation, and they'll say, like, man, you do not even know what this was like. When we grew up, you did not come down here. It was dangerous. I just think I find that pretty interesting. Things are kind of changing. We've been here for about 2 years. Before that, it was a bus station. It was a 24-hour bus station. Took people back and forth to Mexico. They just moved down the block, actually. But the space was really rough, like really gross. We had to just completely tear it out. So that's interesting too, that it's kind of pushing, you know, some of the lower rent businesses that were here before, just like down the boulevard that way. It's just interesting to think through like the patterns of how things are moving.
Yeah. So obviously, like higher rent and leasing is kind of part of gentrification, and you're like familiar with that definition.
Yeah.
Would you say that that will become an issue in the future for people in the area?
I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see. Just like a block away is a heavily Latino community. There's a lot of Mexican restaurants and just a lot of that community space there, and it will be interesting to see if it moves and pushes in that direction. You know, I think the Crossroads is so vibrant and so creative that I don't know, I know there's a lot of, they're taking steps to ensure that the artistic integrity will remain intact. You know, time will tell if that happens or not, but.
So you feel like kind of the local flavors will kind of stay intact despite kind of the revitalization of the area?
I think so. I mean, especially in this part of things where that's such a core value and it's a part of the identity of this area. But who knows?
All right.
Cool,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
How long has this business been here exactly?
I believe 6 years, maybe a little over 6 years.
Okay. How long have you been in the?
I've been here 3 years.
Have you seen examples of gentrification in this area?
Honestly, I don't know too much about like the Crossroads area, but this company that we're in has been super great to me. Totally care about their employees. Just like a really amazing company to work for.
Yeah. So would you say that like this is like part of the culture of the Crossroads district, kind of like the arts district, obviously. Would you say it's had like a pretty big impact on the area?
The arts in general, yeah, for sure. I think it's really like, I don't know, brought obviously a lot of business to the area, but also just like made it safer and like has provided a lot of opportunities to a lot of people.
So, since you've been in the area, have you seen like any change? Like, has there been more business in the area? Like, newer areas? Have prices risen? Yeah.
There's definitely been a lot more people coming over here. We've seen a lot of businesses pop up, like next door. There's always someone new there. I feel like since the 3 years that I've been here, it's changed like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Go for it.
That's all for me.
Oh, okay, that's all for you.
So, in that change, would you say it's been more positive or negative to the area?
I'd say positive.
Yeah. Would you say like you said it's been more safe in this area? How do you think it's made it more safe? Like, can you give us some
I think just more people being here and there being more reason for people to come here thanks to the businesses. It's like a pretty busy city area and like we're close to downtown, so we can get some like crazy incidents. But just being more populated and having more young people in the area thanks to the arts, I feel has helped.